everyone, it's Kino here. Welcome to another episode of Living the Yogi's Life, where I share with you how to translate the lessons that are learned on your yoga mat into your everyday life. For those of you that have been tuning in to this video blog, you may notice a little bit of redecorating. Check out my new sofa. I hope you like it as much as I do. It took a really long time to get here, and this room's been really empty for a long time, so really excited to have a cozy, comfy sofa to talk with you right from my own living room. So hi everyone, and leave me a comment if you like the sofa too. I'm going to be sharing my Living the Yogi's Life blog with you right from here. This week's video blog is a topic that I've struggled with a lot, and it was in the viewer comments last week. So if you have something you want me to address in these video blogs, please leave me a comment, let me know what's on your mind, and I will read all of the comments and respond to some of them and take them as inspiration for next week's video blog. One of the viewers, you left a comment about how to deal with strong emotions in your practice. This is something that I really struggled with myself personally. While I came to the practice with a lot of natural inspiration, which means I loved the practice and I wanted to do it every day, I was not naturally a calm or balanced or emotionally regulated sort of person. So what that meant for me was that whenever I felt someone said something that would hurt my feelings or something like that, it would sort of ruin my whole day. And when I was in my practice, things would affect me really deeply. You know, I would experience really strong emotions in the practice. Sometimes I would start crying, or sometimes I would feel irritated or angry, or sometimes I would feel anxious or fearful. All these things in the context of yoga. Now, at first you might think, hey, wait a minute, like yoga is supposed to make you more peaceful. Why are we in these yoga postures feeling anger, depression, anxiety, irritation, all these things that are rather unpleasant? Well, yoga makes you more peaceful, not by running away from your problems, but by taking you right into them so that you can face them perhaps for the first time in your life. You can face them in the safe space of your own body. The body very much is a reservoir of emotions. This is something I've learned over 15 years of practice, is that you can gloss over emotions with your mind. Just think about for a moment how many times someone's ever asked you, how are you doing? And you're really upset and you said, oh, I'm fine, you know, and you kind of kept that inside. Your body can't lie about that. Somewhere inside of your body, there is sort of a reservoir of sleeping emotions. And those emotions are stored somewhere in the tissue and the fabric of the body, you could say. And when you put yourself in strange yoga postures, and you try to put your leg behind your head, or you hold a back bend for a really long time, or you're upside down in a handstand, all of those sleeping reservoirs of emotions, particularly the negative emotions, they kind of get triggered and they start to bubble up to the surface. And then you experience these things which have previously been sort of swallowed and locked away in the hidden closets of the body. So the yoga practice is actually exactly meant to stimulate all those sleeping, seemingly negative emotions inside of yourself. Not so that you can banish them or fight them or make them go away, but just so that you can experience them with a calm and equanimous mind. It is the equanimous mind that's really the essence of the yoga practice. You're meant to be cultivating a steady, calm flow in the state and fabric of the mind. This calm flow embraces both negative and positive emotions with the same calm recognition that everything we experience in this world is temporary. Everything we experience in the manifested world on the plane of earth is of a temporal nature, which means it doesn't last forever. So when you experience anger, frustration, negativity, anything that's coming up, both in your practice and in your everyday life, the instruction from the path of yoga is to remain equanimous. Don't do anything for or against that emotion. Just be clear. Let the waters of the mind be as clear and calm as possible so that you can experience the storm and ride it through, sort of ride it out. If you begin to add more to it, so let's use the example of the practice itself and see what happens if you begin to add more to it. So let's say you're trying to put your leg behind your head. This is something that, you know, I do almost every day in my yoga practice. So let's say you're trying to put your leg behind your head. So here you are, and you're trying to put your leg behind your head. And as you're trying to put your leg behind your head, you start to feel a pain in your hip joint. Pain in the hip joint, for example, is not necessarily bad. It's just pain in the hip joint. But if you start to fight with it, you start to think, oh, I wish my hip were not this tight, and you try to force it into being open. You start to make a war between you and your body, and you sit there in the negative emotion that you've created by trying to force your body to put the leg behind the head. Now, if instead you experience your body and your emotions in the plane of simply as they are, meaning you're not doing anything for or against, in the plane of the equanimous mind. Here is how your practice could go. And you might experience all of the same tightness. As you begin to attempt a crazy posture, like putting your leg behind your head, you become aware. Tightness and stiffness in the left hip joint, and you simply observe. tightness and stiffness in the left hip joint. And you don't push it, you just experience it. Then, at some moment, you may look over to the person next to you and you might feel frustrated because they've got their leg behind the hip. So then you observe, ooh, frustration and irritation is there. Let me return my mind to its equanimous and calm center. Sooner or later, your hip joint's gonna open, but you can't force it. The body has its own time. And tightness and stiffness is not gonna be won over, meaning you're not gonna force your hip to open. One day when your mind is equanimous, you'll tune into your hip joint and you'll see, okay, tightness and stiffness is not there today. There's a possibility of movement deep in the corners of the body, and then you'll be able to find the space to put your leg all the way behind your head. But you can't force it, right? So this is the journey of yoga. You begin to experience the body in its own time. And sooner or later, all the gifts of the inner world, they become revealed to you. So whenever you experience intensity of emotions, anger, frustration, jealousy, irritation, any of these things that are in the Ashtanga path, actually called the poisons that sit around your heart, that prevent your heart from being open and free. Your job is not to fight against them. Your job is to remain equanimous and just observe. Just like when you experience tightness, stiffness, pain in the body, you don't fight against it, you just observe. If there are tears running down your face because you're feeling quite strong intensity of sadness, don't feed those emotions, don't make them more, don't go into it, just observe. Sadness is there, tears are there running on my face, and return your mind into the task at hand. Breathing, the posture, and your focal point. The focal point being the inner sensations. The equanimous mind is really the key, because it is only when the mind is so still that it is no longer disturbed by the arising and passing of intense pleasure or intense pain that you're able to perceive the depth level of your consciousness. Only when the mind is still can you hear the divine voice of your own guidance within. As long as the mind is stimulated by the external world, and as long as the mind is disturbed by the storms of the emotions, you'll never hear the quiet voice of guidance, divine guidance that each of us have deep inside. It's my hope that you'll develop the equanimous mind and tune into that sacred space of the inner world every day of your life. Namaste.